Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our seminar today. Before we start, let me introduce our group. We are Group 1 from Anesthesiology Nursing Program at University Aisyah Yogyakarta. I'm here with my teammates Zafira Rekatushifa, Diva Aurelia Delinda Guma, and Fitria Hoirelianti. Today, we are excited to share with you about a really important topic that all of us future healthcare workers need to understand. Informed consent in anesthesiology practice. But this won't be one way lecture. We want to hear from you too. So please don't hesitate to raise your hand if you have questions, share your thought, or even tell us about any experience you may have had. Your participation will make the season much more valuable for everyone. This is not just some boring legal stuff we have to memorize. It is actually super relevant to our daily work and can literally make or break our career. So let's make this interactive and learn together. The first material will be delivered by Diva Aurelia. To her the time and place are yours. Please welcome Aurelia.
Yang pertama, what is informed consent? So, what exactly is informed consent? Think of this way. Imagine you're about to buy a really expensive gadget. Would you want to know everything about it first? Like what it does, what could go wrong, and what other options you have? That's basically informed consent in healthcare. It's not just getting a patient to sign a pitch of paper. It's about making sure they truly understand what we're going to do to them, what risks they are taking, and what alternatives they have. In anesthesia, this is super critical because we are literally putting people to sleep and taking control of their vital function. Yang kedua, ada legal framework from anesthesia technician. Now let's talk about the legal stuff. Don't worry, I'll keep it simple. In Indonesia, we have several laws that govern our practice as anesthesia technician. The main ones are the Health Workers Law number 36 per 2014 and the new Health Law number 17 per 2023. These laws basically tell us what we can and cannot do. Think of them as the rules of the game for healthcare workers. We also have specific regulation for anesthesia technician that outline our compensation and scope of practice.
Alright, so what should we include when getting informed consent? There are CK components and like to remember them as the 6 W and H. What, why, who, what if, what happened if not, and who well do they understand? Number one, nature of the procedure. We need to explain exactly what we are going to do in simple terms. Risk and complication, be honest about what could go wrong and how likely it is. Benefit, what positive outcome can they expect? Alternative, what other option do they have? Consequence of refusal, what happens if they say no? Patient understanding, this is crucial. Do they actually get what we just explained? And case studies. Let me share two real cases that happened in Indonesia. These are not just stories, they are wake up call from all of us. Case 1, RSUD Depok 2019. A patient had brain tumor surgery, but after the operation, they fall into a coma. The family sued both the hospital and the anesthesiologist, claiming that negligent anesthesia caused permanent brain damage. The main issues were insufficient informed consent and failure to communicate risk properly. Case 2, RSUP Dr. Sarjito, 2017. A patient became paralyzed after spinal anesthesia surgery. The family sued the anesthesiologist because they felt the risk were not properly explained before the procedure. This led to administrative sanction and civil liability. What the lesson here? This lawsuit happened not necessarily because of medical error, but because of communication failure and inadequate informed consent. The next part will be delivered by Fitria Horianti. To hear the time and place are yours, please give a welcome to Fitria.
Common problems Vivek. Major challenge. Language barrier. How do we explain complex medical terms simple? Temperature balancing torque explanation with efficiency. Culture factory. Understanding family first individual decision making. Poor documentation. Not recording the consent process properly. Inadequate training. Not knowing legal requirement will enough. What this meant for us, legal library we call fake lawsuits, loss of trust, patient won't trust us, professional consequence or careers could be affected. Next, solution and best practice or action plan, continuous learning, keep updating or knowledge of legal requirements as clear from the develop easy to understand consent document. Practice communication for an explain complex concept simple training in patient doctor interaction. Document everything. Keep detailed record of all consent discussion. Seek guidance as hospital eating communities of discuss cases. Alternative solution consider mediation instead of going start to cold. How to implement study is study institutional police know your hospital rush action training program fellowship in continual education. Monitor quality, regular self-assessment of our practice. Consultation and future goals. What we've learned today. Informed consent is about law and ethics. We have specific legal position. Our scope is defined and limited. Supervision is moderator. We cannot work independently like patient. Documentation process everyone got record prevent legal problems. Professional growth is ongoing. Law and practice evolve constantly. Patient safety comes first. All these must first patient well-being. Our goal moving forward, master the legal requirement, know what the law explains, develop excellent communication skill, practice explaining complex concepts, build strong relationship through private conflicts, career development goals, obtain proper certification, complete all required education and training, build professional network, currently experienced practitioner. Stay legal information, keep update on regulation and best practice. Develop specialization. Consider advanced training in specific areas.
References Satya Negoro, Legal and Ethical Issues in Anesthesia Practice in Indonesia, Serliana S.N. Asmumi, 2023, Legal Aspect of the Absence of Informed Consent from Additional Anesthesia, PDS Kian 2016, Panduan Praktis Klinis Anestesiologi dan Terapi Insentif. Any question before we end?
No, thank you.
If not, I will close the webinar session from Group 1. Thanks for attention today. I hope this presentation have given you a clear understanding of informed consent in anesthesiology practice. Remember, as future healthcare professional, we have to responsibility to protect both our patient and ourselves. First, do proper legal and ethical practice. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening and greetings for everyone. Thank you for joining this short webinar. Today, the three of us will be discussing an important and interesting topic in anesthesiology, the effect of intravenous ondansetron on blood pressure and heart rate in spinal anesthesia for cesarean section. Before we begin, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Kirana Marhana Syaukisako from the anesthesiology nursing program, and I'm here with my two colleagues.
My name is Miftah Area, as from the anesthesiology nursing program. I am excited to share insight with you today.
And I am Mutari Hadi.
Saya monitoran, Pak.
Okay, next, I will discuss the background of the topic. As we know, spinal anesthesia is a commonly used technique for cesarean section. However, a frequent side effect is hypotension, often followed by a compensatory increase in heart rate due to sympathetic blockade. This is where ondansetron receptor antagonist commonly used as an antiemetic becomes interesting. Several studies suggest that administering intravenous ondansetron prior to spinal anesthesia can help stabilize blood pressure and heart rate, primarily by blocking the basal gyrate reflex, which is believed to play a major role in the occurrence of bradycardia and hypotension in spinal anesthesia for cesarean section. Next.
Why is topic significant? Because hypotension during spinal anesthesia for cesarean section don't only affect the monitoring symptoms like vomiting and even loss of consciousness, but also impacts the baby due to reduced if ondansetron proves effective in preventing the effects. It could be simple. Affordable and safe parenting strategy in clinical practice.
Next, we moving on to the Q&A session. Thank you, Miftah and Utari, to change our understanding. I'd like to ask Miftah a quick question. Miftah, how exactly does ondansetron prevent a drop in blood pressure?
Ondansetron blocks serotonin receptor, which are believed to trigger the basal gyrate reflex. By inhibiting disease reflex, parasympathetic response such as bradycardia and excessive vasodilation are reduced, leading to more stable hemodynamic.
Next one, vaccinate. Now to Utari, are there any risks or side effects related to using ondansetron?
General ondansetron is well tolerated, especially in low doses 4-8 mg. However, concern is efficacy in patients with a history of cardiac as it may prolong interval on
Okay, next, the last session is conclusion. First is Utari.
Intravena ondansetron has promising potential to prevent hypotension and maintenance hemodynamic stability during spinal anesthesia in cesarean deliveries.
Next, its benefit to given antibiotic use it also enhances maternal comfort and safety during surgery.
Okay, and that's a wrap of our presentation. Thank you for all your attention. We hope this short webinar has added value to your clinical knowledge. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. We are Group 3, and today we would like to present our topic titled The Use of General Anesthesia for Cesarean with Eclampsia Patient. First, we would like to express our gratitude to our lecturer, Ms. Nur Faiza Keni, for her guidance and support. Let us introduce ourselves. My name is Rinta Ramadhani, and my partner is Felicia Anelia Sofian and Nidaul Khaira. Without further delay, let's begin our presentation. Did you know how effective general anesthetic in guaranteeing a successful and safe cesarean section? A cesarean delivery, commonly known as a C-section, is a surgical method used to birth a baby through incision median mother's abdominal wall and uterus. Next. We choose this topic because eclampsia is an obstetric emergency that requires rapid treatment, including the choice of anesthesia during caesar operation. Okay, anesthesia selection basis. Anesthesia selection basis. Maternal and fetal risk eclampsia may impair placental blood flow, cause fetal hypoxia, and damage maternal organs. Anesthesia must ensure hemodynamic stability and preserve organ function. Anesthesia objectives: seizure control, adequate oxygenation and ventilation, and minimizing intra and post-operative complications. Next will be Felicia. Time is yours.
Indication of general anesthesia is uncontrolled seizures or status epilepticus, rapid respiratory failure or altered consciousness, contraindications to regional anesthesia, and emergency obstetric condition. The protocol of general anesthesia, including the first one is preoperative preparation. It consults evaluation vital organ function, stabilize blood pressure, provide aspiration prophylaxis, and coordinate with neonatology. Second, induction. Induction use a lot of agents such as propofol, thiopental, or etomidate, succinylcholine for rapid intubation and pre-oxygenation. Third, maintenance. It included inhalation agents with oxygen or nitrous oxide, opioids after delivery, continuous monitoring. Fourth, intraoperative management. It included control hypertension, prevent pulmonary edema, manage seizure with magnesium sulfate. Fifth, postoperative care. It included ICU monitoring, organ function assessment, neurological evaluation, and respiratory support if needed.
Challenges and complication: aspiration risk due to reduced consciousness and airway protection, drug metabolism altered by heart organ function, cardiovascular risk, higher incidence of arrhythmias and heart failure, neurologic risk, cerebral edema, and persistent seizures can worsen prognosis. And the conclusion, general anesthesia for sexual cesarea in eclamptic patient is complex, requiring rapid, precise, and coordinated action by experienced teams. Anesthesia choice should be based on clinical urgency, maternal condition, and available resources. Proactive Proactive complication management and continuous monitoring are crucial to reduce maternal and fetal morbidity and mortality. Multidisciplinary protocol and regular training are essential for optimal outcomes. Let me know if you need this turned into a slide deck or format and a scientific abstract.
All right, that concludes our presentation. I hope the information we shared today has been valuable and insightful. I'd really appreciate your time and attention. If you have any questions, feedback, or thoughts you'd like to share, I will be more than happy to discuss them. Thank you once again, and I look forward to connecting with you further. Have a great day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good evening, everyone. Today we will present the topic legal responsibility in anesthesia administrators in the health service. We are from Group 4. I am Nadiul Hakisha. This is my friend.
Okay, my name is Fatih Rendra.
My name is Gilang Ramadan.
In this presentation, we will discuss two key roles. First, the role of mandate anesthesia administrators in the absence of anesthesia specialists in an area. And second, responsibilities of those anesthesiologists in the presence of an anesthesia doctor. Let's begin with the first topic. In areas where an anesthesia specialist is not available, a mandated anesthesia administrators plays a crucial role. This role is essential in maintaining safe anesthesia care, especially in emergency or rural settings. These administrators must respect patient rights, protect their confidentiality, provide cessation information, and obtain consent before any procedure. Additionally, they must adhere to professional standards and national health laws. Their practice must support anesthetists and maintain legal and ethical obligations. At Kota Agung Regional Hospital, when an anesthesiology is unavailable, full authority is delegated to the anesthesia administrators. This delegation is supported by the regional government and hospital director. Since surgery requires anesthesia for pain management, this responsibility is vital and cannot be ignored.
Responsibilities of the anesthesiology in the presence of an anesthesia doctor. The legal bond between doctor, health workers, and patient, the patient and hospital association, Dr. Cheese. Delegation of authority. As with the delegation of authority in the world of health is a danger thing because the authorities and the recipient of authority have different responsibilities. This means that the delegation of authority has legal consequences if there is neglect, malpractice in the world of health caused by a person or legal entity. Thus, the delegation of authority should be the responsibility of giving the authority and the respect of the authority so as not to burden either party. The thing that must be considered in the delegation of tasks from doctor to nurse. The primary responsible remains with the doctor who gives the assessment. Nurse have executive responsible. The delegation can only be carried out after the nurse has raised sufficient education and competence to receive the delegation. Long term or continuous delegation or may be given to health nurse with special skill. Specialty nurse governed by separ, part rules. Standing order.
Okay, next conclusion. Delegation of the exercise of authority exercised by anesthesia to anesthesia nurse based on government assignment referred to in Article 10b Ministry Health Regulation number 18 of 2016 concerning the implementation of anesthesia administrator practice is carried out if there is no anesthesiologist specialist in an area. A specialist doctor in the context of the delegation of authority as described by law can only be accepted and implemented by anesthesia administrator who have received training and a license to practice, so that responsibility is still given to the doctor who give the mandate. Anesthesia administrator carry out health service in the context of delegating authority as referred to in Permenkes paragraph 2, covering anesthesia service following additional competence obtained through training.
Thank you. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, we will be happy to answer your question. Well, if there are no questions, that's all for our presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us. Let me introduce myself. My name is Fahria Nur Maulida, and our team is Nurul Azza and Angelina Elani Najwan. We are students of the Anesthesiology Nursing Study Program. Have you ever wondered about patient safety? Today we're going to delve into enhancing patient safety, best practices for managing anesthetic gases by anesthesia assistants, and uncover some vaccination aspects. My aim is to shed light on increased awareness of the importance of occupational safety in anesthetic gas management and spark a productive discussion. Let's begin. First, introduction, objective, raise awareness about safety in managing anesthetic gases, introduce best practices to prevent exposure to waste anesthetic gases, key facts, WAGS can leak during medical procedures posing health risks. Chronic exposure is linked to reproductive and neurological issues. It will be continued by Nurul Azza.
Safety, Learning technology control, scavenging system capture worst gases effectively. Next, national surprise insights, key finding 97% constantly as scavenging system. Only 54% workplace have standards. Procedure, 83% healthcare workers never receive training.
Next, yaitu ada recommendation and proper equipment as closet filling system, avoid funnel fill system, and continuous training, annual mandatory training for all staff, and air monitoring, regular air monitoring to detect gas leaks. And last, conclusion and Q&A. Key message, patient and worker safety, release of the technology, training and discipline practices, and interactive discussion, share inspiration and address challenge in daily practices.
That's all for our presentation. Any question? Thank you. If there are no questions, in closing, I want to express my gratitude for your engagement. Let's take what we've learned today and turn it into action. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.